Chapter 51 Cultivating Trust. You are listening at NovelsReturning. There was a burgundy Raptor pickup truck in the garage. The body was covered in dust and had not been washed for who knows how long, but its 6-meter length, 2-meter width and height, and domineering shape with 35-inch tires still give this pickup a sense of wildness, coupled with the fact that it has been obviously modified. The metal bars welded on the front and the barbed wire on the windows give it a wasteland style. It's just that the fuel consumption is a bit high, but for the time being, there is no shortage of fuel. Jack sighed softly while observing around the car. The virus broke out too suddenly, with too many people dead and too few survivors. Although 7 months have passed, it is still easy to find gasoline in the city. Oil will deteriorate if left for a long time, but it can easily damage the engine, and it won't matter so much in a post-apocalyptic environment. Homemade petrol bombs have always been an effective weapon. Let's find some food first. We have almost searched the places that can be looted at close range. The other survivors should be similar. It is usually a little difficult to find food nowadays. Jack's first thought was to eat, and the same was true for Tao Yu. He had used a total of 4 chi-boosting pills to recover from a brief confrontation last night, and he still had to give priority to food. We don't have to worry about the trouble of moving it, and it's easy to find. In the past, Jack had to bring people with him to move things together. When there were more people, it became more difficult to ensure quietness and coordination. There were only 2 of us now, so we filled our backpacks and left. Then Jack started the pickup truck and rushed directly onto the street with a roar. Many zombies were pushed aside before they could react to the sound. Some of the people blocking the road also hit them directly. Tao Yu, who was sitting in the co-pilot, felt the vibration from the occasional impact and understood that the danger would not be great when they were on their way, but how to get rid of the zombies after stopping is a problem. Where is the gas station that the 3 mentioned earlier? Have you considered checking it out? Tao Yu's tone was casual. I don't plan to go there for the time being. There might be other dangers. I've checked out a few places that still have stocks, but they're a bit more difficult. I just need to go to one of them to find something this time. After we're done, we bypassed downtown Las Vegas from the Gobi and went directly to the military base. There is gas in the trunk and the tires are sand tires, so the range is more than enough. Jack drives smoothly, like a race car driver. That's good. Tao Yu sighed, then took out Chow Shaolin's golden pistol and played with it. After a moment of silence, he said, I actually killed Chow Shaolin. Tao Yu's words almost caused Jack to lose control of the car. It swayed before he regained control. He didn't yell or even stop the car, he just asked in a solemn voice. Why? Because I have met him before. He is a very powerful pervert who takes pleasure in killing. You also checked his body today. If I hadn't attacked him by surprise, I would have been the one who died. Tao Yu turned her head and looked at Jack. Do you believe me? The car fell into dead silence for a while, except for the roar of the motor. I believe you, you didn't have to tell me. After a moment of silence, Jack also exhaled, seeming a little melancholy. He thought about it from Tao Yu's perspective. If it was true as he said, there seemed to be no good solution. If he discussed it directly with himself, would he believe him then? Now I believe that the most important thing is seeing Chow Shaolin's body and feeling the power that remains even after death. After hearing Jack's answer, Tao Yu also showed a smile. He also changed his mind temporarily after seeing Jack's suspicion about Chow Shaolin's body. It takes time to develop mutual trust. In fact, when Tao Yu and Zhang Wei formed a team, they also tried to cultivate trust in each other and guided him to learn basic breathing techniques. However, Zhang Wei's attitude changed after the 2 people from the inner city appeared, and Tao Yu was still asked to directly give up the idea. Everyone has their own ideas and interests. This is understandable, however, depending on the level of trust, the degree to which cooperation can occur also varies. Then Tao Yu put away the golden pistol again. Warlord-equipped gun, comes with armor breaking, accuracy, and self-repair, special effects. It also allows the wearer to have a stronger sense of spirituality, be able to detect malice, and have a certain ability to perceive mysterious things, can be superimposed. Can be absorbed as 1080 units of willing power. Tao Yu has a pistol with precise ballistic effects, but the shortcomings of his previous dealings with Cao Shaolin were also revealed. With the mental impact of his deified shooting skills, he barely managed to kill him in one shot. This is just Cao Shaolin. If he meets someone with stronger strength, wouldn't he have to kneel down directly? This, Warlord's gun, undoubtedly supplements his own lethality, and the superimposed spiritual sense behind it should also be a manifestation of Cao Shaolin's kind of perception. Precisely because of the superposition of this ability and the crane-shaped spiritual sense, Tao Yu could also feel the sincerity in Jack's words before, and he indeed believed what he said. This encounter actually woke up Tao Yu, who was a little swollen. Escaping into the shadows is not omnipotent. And in addition to armor breaking and accuracy, the self-repair is also quite good. In addition to repairing damage to firearms, the most important thing is that after the magazine is empty, it can automatically replenish one air bullet every minute. The effect is the same as that of ordinary bullets, but it cannot be taken out. The 14-round magazine can be refilled almost every quarter of an hour. Bullets cost money and take up a lot of backpack. Although one shot per minute does not reduce Tao Yu's reliance on spare ammunition, it gives Tao Yu the confidence to shoot when clearing mobs. Definitely a little gem. Although the absorption is only worth a little over 1,000 willing efforts, the actual price is definitely much higher. The protagonist is the protagonist after all. This is a difficult character to find among the pioneers. A preliminary trusting relationship has been established. Maybe. Looking at the big-nosed Jack driving next to him, some thoughts flashed through Tao Yu's heart. After pondering for a while, he continued. Actually, you will be able to absorb some information about your physical condition sooner or later. I think I can tell you in advance now. Jack's trust and the fact that he didn't sense any malice made Tao Yu feel quite warm. Although he had the idea of exploding Jack's gold coins, he still didn't do it despite his intentions, and since he had decided to be a partner in the temporary team, he also felt that he could help Jack with some popular science in advance. Anyway, this information is not valuable to him, and Jack will know it sooner or later. Willing power. Jack hadn't fully digested Tao Yu's previous words at this time, and his heart hadn't calmed down yet. Now that he heard what Tao Yu said again, he vaguely felt that there must be some big secret behind it. Yes, willingness. This is very important both for us pioneers and for sons of destiny, like you. You already know the highlands and rainforests in the south. They are actually other worlds. Compared with the unpredictable pioneers, the protagonist, set up by this kind of person is obviously more trustworthy. Abyss, world fragments, willing power. The pickup truck stopped in an empty park and plowed a mark on the already messy lawn. Jack finally couldn't hold himself any longer and allowed some zombies to slowly approach. He leaned on the backrest and rubbed his temples. In other words, the three guys who disappeared before were the pioneers you were talking about. Is Cao Shaolin the same? Those three are indeed pioneers, but they have nothing to do with me. Cao Shaolin should be similar to you, except that you are a decent person and he is a villain. Tao Yu gave an example, which made Jack feel bitter. All the decent villains are here. Hey, I have a headache. Compared to other people who can't even use their willpower, you're pretty good. Only by constantly getting stronger can you survive in this environment. Okay, thank you very much for telling me so much. Let's go and find something to eat first. Jack opened the car door, pulled out an engineering shovel from the roof of the car, and used the shovel to hit the heads of several approaching zombies. The heads of the zombies were all blown away. That strength is indeed beyond that of ordinary people. He was originally a Soldier King type character, and with the 7 months of absorbing the willpower, Jack's strength was already strong. No wonder the zombies didn't provide much willpower, but he could already sense the difference in himself. Although Jack and the others cannot improve anything in the same way as the Trailblazers, their efficiency in absorbing the power of will should be higher. Chapter 52 Local. You are listening at NovelsReturning. Two flexible figures jumped from a dead tree in the park to the wall of a school, and then deftly climbed down with ease. The school playground looked very messy, with dried bloodstains and flesh scabs everywhere. The zombies far outnumbered those on the street. but they were all blocked by the school's strong access control system to prevent shootings. It did not spread outward, so generally speaking, this is also a restricted area for ordinary survivors. Outside the school supermarket, a female zombie wearing a school uniform with some pale bones on her face moved from time to time, but the next moment, an engineer's shovel hit its head, splashing some mucus. At the same time, when the zombie was about to fall to the ground, Jack blocked it with his legs to reduce the sound of falling. For Tao Yu and Jack, who both have strong mobility, entering the school to avoid zombies is not difficult. The habits of zombies are also clear, and the two can easily form a tacit understanding. In order to travel light and keep the noise down, Tao Yu didn't even wear a helmet, and Jack was as simple as possible. They moved silently. 7 months had passed, and although the supermarket was a little messy, the shelves were still full of goods, but some were scattered on the ground. It can be seen that no one has ever cared about this place from beginning to end, in addition to some that had been cleared at the door. There were about 7 or 8 zombies inside the supermarket. Be careful not to let them knock down the shelves, otherwise you can only run away in advance. Jack, holding a military shovel, lowered his voice and reminded. Tao Yu just nodded and said nothing. I'm on the left, you're on the right. Jack made a few gestures to Tao Yu, indicating numbers and directions. Tao Yu also raised his hand and made an OK gesture. Ding. Gotcha. Puff. The two held military shovels and dogleg knives, and their movements were clean and neat, and they controlled the direction to prevent the zombies from knocking down the containers. They easily solved all the zombies in the supermarket. In addition, the two of them carefully checked inside and outside to make sure that there were no fish that slipped through the net and suddenly jumped out and made noises. After confirming that everything was correct, they quickly filled the backpack with various high-energy foods. Snickers, chocolate, biscuits, canned food, and some sports drinks were constantly stuffed into the backpack. Tao Yu even stuffed it and ate it directly, swallowing Jin Gong modified. In addition to accelerating digestion and resisting poison, the energy that can be stored in advance has also increased. Since there is enough food, it is definitely a good choice to keep yourself at the peak. Jack next to him also widened his eyes when he saw Tao Yu eating so much. This is too much. Then he helped Tao Yu put things in his backpack and came closer to lower his voice and said, "Is this the skill of strengthening the will you mentioned?" Tao Yu chewed with his cheeks puffed up, and nodded while whimpering. Then he tilted his head and glanced at Jack, thinking something in his heart. Maybe, basic breathing method, or even Wanlu Zhuanggong and Wanlu Wuxing can be tried to teach Jack. This guy can't absorb those wish power skills, but this kind of skill that can be practiced is definitely not a big problem. In fact, the dojos in the outer city don't have any strict means to prevent outsiders from passing it on, as long as the apprentices who have learned it don't teach publicly in the dojo, but only teach relatives and friends in private. They won't say anything, because the people in the outer city are very proud of their skills, and if the skills are not practiced well, they may get hurt, and breathing methods are more likely to hurt the lungs. There are far more examples of people who do bad things in private and become disabled than those who succeed. Tao Yu dared to practice basic breathing methods under the guidance of his third brother, so if normal people don't have a way and are willing to spend money to learn, they still focus on the dojo. This is also the reason why Wanlu Dojo will tie some outstanding students to the dojo. However, although Tao Yu's proficiency in several skills is not high, because of the overall sense brought by the deification, he thinks it should be enough to teach Jack to get started. Using free knowledge to exchange for real goodwill is always worthwhile. If Jack really gets a foothold in the gathering place in the future, he can be looked after by someone else. Are you willing to teach me? Carrying the supplies back to the cab of the pickup truck, Jack seemed a little excited, and even raised his hand to show some of his own moves. You are willing to take the risk to take me to find meteorites, so teaching a few skills is nothing, but whether you can learn it depends on you. Tao Yu looked indifferent. Thanks, brother, you're a nice guy. Remember, if you have the opportunity to learn skills in a gathering place in the future, try to find a formal place, otherwise it will be troublesome if you practice it incorrectly or fail. As Jack started the pickup truck, Tao Yu reminded him again. At present, our entire pioneer group, including me, prioritizes interests. You need to change your attitude a little and be more vigilant. When Jack heard Tao Yu's words, he smiled and glanced at him while driving. Brother Zhang Wei, I am a former CIA after all, I am not so naive, but thank you anyway. My name is Tao Yu. Since they have decided to treat it as a long-term business and have laid the groundwork for each other, Tao Yu no longer hides it. Huh, Brother Tao Yu, are we friends now? Of course. Hold on tight, I'm going to speed up. Jack started to shift gears, stepped on the accelerator and rushed out of the road, driving directly into the Gobi Desert. A cloud of dust rose from behind the car, creating a long dragon on the barren Gobi Desert. Wachalalayo-o, wachalalayo-o, the sun was setting, and because the speed could not be increased on the Gobi Desert, Tao Yu and his team finally bypassed the center of Las Vegas after changing tires halfway. With rolling dust, they returned to the Gobi Desert Highway and drove towards the military base ahead. Next to this military base is a world-famous restricted area, Area 51, so it's not strange to study meteorites here. This breathing method is really useful. I'm hungry again. Jack bit a Snickers with a bit of excitement on his face, but it can be felt that he was using a breathing frequency similar to Tao Yu when driving. Because Jack had a strong physique and didn't make any mistakes, he didn't have to worry about hurting his lungs. So when he took a break at noon to eat, he had already learned the basic breathing method under Tao Yu's guidance. This talent is really amazing. Perhaps there are some factors of the son of luck in it. It's no wonder that Chao Shaolin is so strong, and since he has successfully entered the door, the rest is a process of familiarity and adaptation. When you first get started, you must be careful not to get a stitch in the side. If you feel pain, you must stop, otherwise the injury to your lungs may accompany you for life. Tao Yu reminded him again. Others can't ignore the pain like him. There are many people who have become disabled after practicing. I don't feel uncomfortable. I feel great now and I'm full of energy. Are you sure there is no one in the military base ahead? If it hasn't fallen, will we be used as targets if we go there? Yes, there were survivors who wanted to come here to get some arms before, but they were all zombies, and there was an explosion in the ammunition depot. Jack said casually. Explosion? The meteorite will not explode as well. No, the meteorite explosion base will be gone. Jack knew clearly the power of the meteorite, which could cause a pistol to fire a missile. The military is not stupid, and will definitely keep it separately and safely, but at this moment, Tao Yu's pupils shrank slightly and he immediately shouted. Stop! Jack didn't know what Tao Yu meant, but out of the tacit understanding and trust between the two sides, he stepped on the brakes and let the pickup truck slide on the road for a distance, leaving obvious brake marks. Keep your head down, be careful, the ground ahead is full of nails, it should be man-made. Tao Yu quickly glanced around and saw someone peeking out from behind several scrapped cars in the Gobi direction. Judging from their weapons and attire, they were either pioneers, or people who had killed pioneers and picked up their equipment. They might be pioneers. Remember what I told you. Be alert. Don't speak. I'll negotiate. Tao Yu quickly reminded Jack, opened the car door, and waved over there while keeping alert. He shouted in the common language. Hey, big brother, I'm from the local area, one of us. Chapter 53 Shortcut. Shortcut. You are listening at NovelsReturning. Several abandoned cars that had broken down on the Gobi were covered with sand and dust. A total of 5 pioneers relied on the abandoned cars to constantly observe the situation on the road. When they saw a vehicle appear, the faces of the group also showed a hint of joy. A thin pioneer who was responsible for observing with a telescope turned back to a slender figure with lizard skin and said, Sister, someone is coming. The figure with lizard skin, called Big Sister, had a relatively straight outline, but the vertical pupils and shark-like teeth in her mouth brought a sense of fear. You are lucky. If the scapegoat comes, you will pass the test. The lizard man was lying lazily on the hot Gobi, seemingly not caring about the temperature at all, and even went so far as to stay in the sun. Now he stood up with a lazy expression. Several other figures who were clearly dressed as outsiders shrank involuntarily, feeling fear rising in their hearts. Sister, they found the nail and got out of the car. They seem to be pioneers too. Looking at the figure who got off the car on the road and spoke in common language, several people were also slightly stunned. Oh, anyway, someone needs to be lured away from the zombies at the military base ahead. As for whether it's you or someone else, I don't care. The female lizard man stuck out her forked tongue, and as her vertical pupils focused, she could see the two people on the road clearly in an instant. Quite handsome. A look of interest appeared on the female lizard man's face, which made the other people's hearts suddenly sink. Bring it here. Yes. A man carrying a backpack and an assault rifle trotted forward quickly and waved to Tao Yu and the others to come over. Tao Yu also saw the image of the female lizard man, and felt a little solemn in his heart. Are there really people from the inner city who have taken a liking to this barren place? After the last experience, he knew that this female lizard man must be an inner city person with an alienated body implanted. With the reserves of the people in the inner city, even if they can only be considered as equal to their own at the same time, their strength cannot be underestimated. If you pretend to be mute, things will get a little troublesome. You have to act according to circumstances. Tao Yu's boot stepped on the hot Gobi desert that made the air distort, and she reminded Jack again, then he led him there with a smile on his face, and even hung the gun on his back, as if to show that he had no ill intentions. What are your two talents? Where are you going? Where did you get this car? Can you drive it? The female lizard man walked over on the hot Gobi with bare feet, and kept looking at Tao Yu with an interested look, which made Tao Yu tense up all over, feeling a strong threat, very strong. Tao Yu tensed up while suppressing her heart palpitations, and said in a submissive tone. His talent is endurance, and my talent is dynamic vision. We spent some time with the natives in the city and got these things. He has good strength and a strong body. The female lizard man stared at Tao Yu's handsome face, pinched Tao Yu's body, her eyes lit up slightly, and she stuck out her forked tongue, which almost touched Tao Yu's face. You are ridiculous. Now I give you two choices. First, become my face and let me inspect the goods later. Second, go and lure away the zombies in the base in front. The female lizard man sounded frivolous and directly gave Tao Yu two choices. If I can take shortcuts, I certainly know how to choose. Tao Yu answered without hesitation. In fact, this is the normal situation when inner city people and outer city people meet, even if there is no cannon fodder sequence, they will force people to pass. It's okay in the city, there are some basic rules, but there is no order at all in the abyss. Last time, the relative attitude between Joseph and Wenua was considered good, because they both had 5 quotas from outside the city. Now that this female lizard man has no worries in this regard, she is even more wanton, or rather unscrupulous. Having chosen this barren area alone, it can be said that she has no competitors. She is probably more focused on the military base because she is considering finding a gathering place. Elbow, follow me. The female lizard man, who was satisfied with Tao Yu's obedience test, turned around and left. I haven't asked you for your name yet. Zizalin, the dragon lizard family in the inner city. Forget it, you people from the outer city don't know what it is, but if you work hard to satisfy me, maybe I can take you into the city. Lizard looked very arrogant. By the way, Master Lizalin, we encountered a special situation in the city before when we met the natives. Some of the natives were able to kill zombies and become stronger. I don't know. Where? Lizalin, who seemed a little lazy at first, suddenly lit up his eyes and turned around to look at Tao Yu. At a survivor camp in the city. Tao Yu seemed to shrink her neck in fear. You are my lucky star. What is that person's character like? Forget it, you don't know how to judge. Let's go first. We will go to the city first and you will lead the way to that place. Lizalin was no longer ready to inspect the goods, and instantly changed his mind. Is it very, very important? Tao Yu said with some surprise, the old gathering place is fine, but here it's still worth a trip. They are all the sons of destiny from the fragments of the world. There are the chosen ones who are favored by the world, and the luck stealers who are favored by the abyss. But no matter which one they are, their presence can reduce the probability of the gathering area being affected by abyssal natural disasters. Lizzie Lin seemed to be in a very good mood. Do you really think you can build a gathering place anywhere? You have also seen the overbearing power of the world fragments. No one can rule out that fragments of the world will fall over the heads of the gathering place at the next moment. We are okay as individuals, protected by the will of the world. At most, the fragments will fall and become disoriented, but it is not fatal. But the gathering place is likely to be divided into pieces, north and south. I see. Tao Yu also nodded with some understanding. It was indeed an abyss. Then he cautiously asked. Is there any difference between the two? Lizard hummed a little tune, took the lead in walking towards the car, and said casually, if you kill the local, chosen one, in the world fragment, bad luck may be entangled in the current world fragment. Luck stealers are not bad, but in general, killing them is not cost-effective. The willpower gathering they drop is not as good as their strength, and the cost-effectiveness is low. Even in the old gathering place, they will keep it as much as possible, not too much. It's just that the luck stealers need to be careful, they often cause trouble. After hearing this, Tao Yu was filled with emotion in her heart. After all, he is from the inner city, so he knows a lot, which is far beyond what someone like me from the outer city can compare with. Thank you very much. You have made a great contribution, just tell me what reward you want when the time comes. Can you lend me some willpower? Tao Yu handed over a wish card with a face filled with anticipation, the one with a limit of close to 5,000. I'll reward you first. If you find it, you don't have to pay it back. If you don't find it, you'll always return home, or you can offset it by serving me well. Without much hesitation, Lizzie Lin filled up the wishing force magnetic card and threw it to Tao Yu. The rich woman's breath hit her face. It made several other people from other cities nearby look envious and jealous, but looking at Tao Yu's appearance and thinking of the important information he provided, no one dared to show any disrespect to him. Many of them even had flattering and kind smiles when they looked at each other. Thanks. Tao Yu took back the magnetic card and absorbed the wish power inside. I felt a little relieved in my heart. Sure enough, you still need to save some willpower for emergencies. If you were injured at the beginning, it wouldn't even be enough to treat you, but now it's much safer. Actually, the chosen one is him. Tao Yu raised her finger and pointed at Jack, making Jack, who had always been unable to understand the language, look confused as to what was going on, and just when Lizzie Lin was distracted and turned to look at Jack, everything in Tao Yu's eyes slowed down instantly. The golden pistol slipped, bang bang bang. Continuous gunfire rang out. Lizard Lin seemed to have goosebumps all over her body. Even if she was carrying Tao Yu on her back, she suddenly burst out with terrifying speed. Even in the bullet time screen, she could see her head swinging to the side, as if she wanted to avoid the ballistic trajectory. However, the slow-motion shots of the bullets that cut through air passages in the air suddenly turned in the air and followed the lizard's head in a cunning manner. Bang! Perhaps Lizard Lin's body after alienation is no weaker than Chao Shaolin, and may even be stronger, but now Tao Yu has refreshed his attack limit with the Warlord's gun. In the slow motion of bullet time, you can see that the bullet with the armor-breaking attribute, with the twisted air channel, directly opened her horny scalp, tore her skull, and penetrated into it. Plus the mental attack added by basic shooting modified. She was not given the time to struggle like Chao Shaolin, and her brains exploded in an instant. When the skull was lifted and the corpse started to rush forward, Tao Yu still hadn't exited the bullet time. He shot the other people who had not reacted with his backhand, spraying plasma in all directions. Only the confused Jack was left watching beside him. What the hell, what happened? He couldn't understand the meaning of those jabbering words, and no one expended energy to convey the meaning. I just laughed happily at the beginning. Isn't it a good conversation? How come they were all killed in the blink of an eye? In fact, you are the perverted murderer, right? Get used to it, this is the abyss. Tao Yu looked at Jack's confused expression and smiled casually. Good people are rewarded. I had previously suppressed my evil thoughts about Jack's gold coins, but now I realized that the chosen one might be rewarded if he killed indiscriminately. You couldn't understand what we were saying before, so you probably didn't know what we meant. They wanted us to be cannon fodder to lure away the zombies, or to be her face. Jack, who was still digesting, heard what Tao Yu said next, and suddenly became aware of it. He lowered his head and looked at the horny skin of the lizard man, and immediately felt a chill. Good kill. Tao Yu took another shot at the lizard's body on the ground with the assault rifle, and then slowly explained to Jack in detail the situation of the Trailblazers and what had just happened. Chapter 54 Harvest. You are listening at NovelsReturning. When he first launched a sneak attack on Joseph in the inner city, Tao Yu was still a little panicked, worried that there would be some means to detect him. This time my mentality is much more stable. After finishing the last hit, Tao Yu still remembered the situation when Joseph self-destructed, so he waited there for a moment, and then went over to touch the body with gloves. It is highly toxic and has a chance of penetrating the skin. Tao Yu's deified auxiliary ability was used again at this time. Unexpectedly, the body of the lizard man would turn into poison after death. Is this because the venom glands ruptured and entered the body? No wonder her style is different from Wei Nuo's wide open style. She should also take a dexterous route and use toxins to kill with one hit, very difficult. Moreover, Tao Yu did not forget that when Wei Nuo was besieged by aliens, he used some kind of potion. He lost his mind and gained a sudden increase in strength. He was even parasitized by aliens and disemboweled, but he still managed to survive. Tao Yu kept trying to open his mouth and used various information to stimulate him, and then made confirmation based on the superimposed spiritual sense of his deified crane shape and warlord's gun, and only launched a sneak attack when he sensed the opponent's greatest mood swings. Fortunately, things have stabilized. Otherwise, we might have been in trouble if we didn't know the information about this toxin. Tao Yu was still very satisfied with his caution. What if this guy could spray poisonous mist and cause large-scale damage? No matter what trump card she has, it's safest to keep it in her pocket. If the information about the Son of Destiny couldn't distract the other party, Tao Yu was ready to talk dirty, and if you never find the right time, you may even have to sacrifice yourself to find the opportunity. Thinking of the other party's sharp teeth, Tao Yu couldn't help but shudder in her heart. Fortunately, there was no what if. After touching the corpse with gloves, Tao Yu actually found a few good things. Last time Joseph, the beast, blew himself up and nothing was left behind, but this time there were several items that were useful to Tao Yu. One was a fang-shaped dagger with some lines wrapped around the handle. Although he did not notice the poison, Tao Yu still washed it with the water that had killed several people. Monster Fang, a dagger made from monitor lizard teeth. It has the characteristics of bleeding, armor breaking, and paralysis, and can absorb 900 willpower, a piece of close-fitting inner armor that can only protect the area between the chest and abdomen. There are fine scales on the inner armor, inner scale armor. It has strong defensive power and anti-penetration ability. It can evenly distribute the damage received. It has weak defense against blunt objects and can absorb 400 willing power. Although this inner armor looks cheaper than that dagger, the actual price is probably more expensive. It is lightweight, and this defensive mode is highly resistant to bullets. Tao Yu really couldn't put it down, and he didn't mind at all that others had used it. Even if it looks like a female item, Tao Yu doesn't mind, as long as it's practical to wear inside. After rinsing with water, he started to take off his clothes and put on clothes on the spot, which made Jack next to him widen his eyes and open his mouth into an O shape. What kind of fetish is this? In fact, you are the pervert, right? What are you looking at? Superficial. Tao Yu's sensitive mind couldn't stand Jack's eyes, so she turned around and glared at him fiercely. With a worldly outlook, you simply don't know what practicality is. While muttering, Tao Yu also accelerated the speed of dressing, quickly covering the inner scale armor. In addition, there is a pair of knee pads and wrist pads, which are similar to the elastic leather type of sports knee pads. Their protective capabilities are average and they can absorb only 1 or 200 willpower, but they can increase explosive power and endurance to a certain extent, and reduce muscle strain. Good quality and low price, high cost performance. This is a similar route to mine. Everything is quite suitable. These items don't actually contain much willpower alone, but just like the blood orchid, which only absorbs less than 100, the function here really makes Tao Yu's whole body change from gun to gun. Although they are tools for touching corpses, they are small and can be hidden. In terms of benefits, it is still worth taking the risk. Tao Yu is not worried about choking, the company has company regulations, and the abyss has its rules. Even if the equipment he picked up in the abyss is really exposed, at least it will be difficult for the other party to use it as an excuse to do anything to him openly, at least that's what it looks like on the surface. In addition to these pieces of equipment that were useful to her, Tao Yu also found 7 kinds of potions and put them in the backpack around her waist. 6 of them should be specially used for her implanted alien body, and are highly toxic to ordinary people. Tao Yu directly absorbed all the willpower of these 6 potions, which totaled about 2,000. When absorbing these potions, Tao Yu also noticed that such high-quality items would absorb the willpower slower. If we see some artifact or something in the future, we might even suffer a counterattack when we absorb it. After Tao Yu drank up the medicine that was useless to him, he also had some thoughts in his heart. Then he looked at the only physical potion left, which was similar to Chibu Chi pills but should be more efficient. Physical strength restoration potion, slightly toxic, easy to bleed, greatly restores physical strength, stimulates nerves, and restores mental strength to a certain extent. There were only 3 of this milky white physical recovery potion. Tao Yu kept it on his body and discarded the remaining potion that had been sucked up. Here, help and burn them. Although it was getting dark, Tao Yu did not intend to leave directly. Instead, he went back to the pickup truck and got a small bucket of gasoline. With the tires of the abandoned vehicles, he piled several bodies together and then sprinkled them with gasoline and set them on fire. Jack had recovered from the shock of Tao Yu changing into women's inner armor. Will it cause trouble? As a former member of the CIA task force, although Jack was willing to help ordinary people and had a positive outlook, he was not a person who was conservative and was quite skilled in destroying corpses and traces. If it was known that I did it, there would definitely be trouble. The power and influence of the people in the inner city are still very large. It was us. Jack smiled and corrected Tao Yu's words, and took the initiative to light the fire. I can't imagine the scene of being pressed down by this sharp-toothed woman. Jack shuddered, and the scar on his big nose trembled. Tao Yu was silent for a moment but still did not correct him. It seems that the female lizard man didn't like him, maybe he was too ugly. I still have to make a fortune. Tao Yu felt the nearly 7,000 points of willpower reserve and the upgraded equipment on his body, and he felt a sense of emotion in his heart. Even if he didn't come to the barren zombie world, he would have been risking staying in the grassland and rainforest to hunt. Not to mention the risk of facing the siege of aliens and losing more than the gain. Even if he said that everything went smoothly, he couldn't come so fast even if he came day and night. This is still considering that the skills in the newly developed area can still be sold at a high price, and he still has to go back and forth between the abyss and the present world to complete the task. As a result, the gold coins of the lizard man exploded here, which was a huge profit. If the value of Chao Shaolin's, Warlord Sidearm, is also included, it will be even more. At present, Warlord Sidearm is still the most valuable equipment on Tao Yu. The 2 functions of armor breaking and precision are actually quite ordinary, but the superimposed spiritual perception feels that it is very effective even for people with stronger strength. Just like the deified crane form, Tao Yu thinks it is the most practical and promising of the 5 forms. It's right in front. Let's stop here and rest in the car for a night to recharge our batteries. Jack also stopped the car with the headlights on against the night. There are already some roadblocks in front, and there are barbed wires next to them. You can see that it is already very dilapidated. Tao Yu can see that there are several traces of man-made cuts and damage on the barbed wire. Okay, have the zombies on the periphery been cleared? Someone in front wanted to take away the equipment and military vehicles on the periphery, which attracted the zombies. Now most of the zombies in this base are concentrated in the center, which is more dense than the school we visited before. It is a challenge. Jack has been here for so long, and he is still clear about some of the situations nearby. Although the last time he escorted things here was before the outbreak of the biochemical crisis, he still has a lot of understanding through the communication with other survivors. In fact, The best way to deal with this kind of place is to arrange people to lead the zombies away separately. But if you drive too fast, the zombies will stop chasing you. You can only ensure that you are driving at a similar speed and making noises continuously. Once you are surrounded, you will die. Everyone who has tried has died, and slowly no one will come. The weapons depot has exploded. If someone has to risk his life to create an opportunity to get in, it may not be successful, and the harvest is uncertain, so naturally they will stop trying. In terms of the current number of survivors and the proportion of supplies, there is no need to take such a risk. Then take a rest tonight, eat something, and I will tell you about the pile exercise by the way. Because of absorbing the power of will, Jack has a very good physical foundation, which is similar to Tao Yu when he first learned it, and his own various fighting abilities are also very strong, so the speed of getting started is naturally fast. Chapter 55 Base. You are listening at NovelsReturning. In the early morning, when the sky was just slightly bright, Tao Yu had already gotten off the car to do today's exercises. Even with 1 certificate, forever certificate, Tao Yu's ability will not degenerate, but it still takes time to improve. Even when his willpower was not enough, he still insisted on daily practice. Now that he has enough willpower, he will not fall behind. Tao Yu's figure was seen constantly urging different variants of the Wanlu 5 forms in the circle drawn by his feet, sometimes agile, sometimes heavy, and the muscles of the whole body could hear the sound of tension, like the bowstring being played, and the bones creaking under the circulation of qi and blood. The movements were sometimes as fast as thunder, and sometimes as slow as a turtle, but even if Tao Yu swung at that seemingly slow speed, accompanied by the compression and twisting of the muscles all over his body, and finally released a quick and short blow, he could make a strong sound in the air. After a set of 5-form interactive movements were all completed, Tao Yu slowly stopped and exhaled. High-level skills cost a lot. Because he was not afraid of damaging his body, Tao Yu simply stretched and drank a bottle of sports drink, and then began to stuff Snickers into his mouth. You still need meat. Tao Yu muttered in his heart. As soon as he got 5 forms in one, Tao Yu started to come in to make money, but the 2 times he encountered strong enemies, he could be said to have some failures. The first time he faced Chao Shaolin, the burst of strength broke the knife, and the second time he did not dare to give the opponent a chance to get close. After all, his proficiency was too low. If 5 forms in one form was pushed to level 5, and the potential of his body was fully developed, he should be able to fight in close combat. The gun is very cost-effective, but unfortunately there is an upper limit. It is not easy to obtain unconventional firearms. Tao Yu looked at the warlord's gun in his hand. Fortunately, this is enough for him for the time being, but he needs to take precautions in advance through these 2 encounters. You got up really early. Jack yawned, opened the door, got out of the car, stretched his muscles, and pressed his waist. It was quite awkward to rest in the car. In the abyss, weakness is the original sin. Tao Yu chewed the food, digesting it quickly with the help of swallowing Jin Gong modified. The peristalsis of the stomach and the absorption of the intestines directly solved half of the backpack. Tao Yu's way of rolling made Jack feel a little pressure, and he also quickly performed a set of Zhuang Gong, which was not yet completely introductory. The next battle is tough, save your energy. Tao Yu looked at Jack and found it a little funny. He ignored the pain, but Jack couldn't. Okay, I'm not sure about the specific situation inside, so I'll observe it first and determine the countermeasures. Looking at Jack's serious look, Tao Yu didn't feel much pressure. Don't be nervous. If it's really difficult, we won't look for it. We'll just go back and find a big guy to push it flat. If there is a chance here, of course it's most cost-effective to get it yourself and then sell it, but if the difficulty is too high, Tao Yu doesn't have to break through. Eat as much as you want. Tao Yu knows that he has strong abilities in burst, sneak attack, ambush and lurking, and it is no problem to seize the opportunity to defeat the strong with the weak. Joseph, Li Hui, Chao Shaolin and Lizard are all examples, but endurance is indeed a shortcoming. When the Li family faced the miscellaneous soldiers later, they relied on Kryptonian willpower to hold on. Although it looks very convenient, it is really a bit unaffordable. Now that the strength is stronger, the consumption must be greater. So to some extent, it is actually restrained by the zombies, because this base is related to Area 51, it is said to be magical, but in fact it looks very ordinary inside. Some ordinary military camps can be seen from a distance, and there is also an airport runway. The outer barbed wire is very simple and rusty, it seems to be just a large area of land encircled by a military restricted area, and there are more complete military camps inside, and you can see the walls, metal railings and electric grids on the walls. In addition, there is a huge charred area and a small amount of debris, which is probably the weapons depot that exploded. The two parked the car directly on the road outside, each holding a weapon and a backpack, and entered the base through a cut wire fence. There are almost no zombies left outside, which seems to be quite scattered and does not pose a threat. Some corpses can still be seen on the ground, which should be the zombies that the previous waves of people came in to clean up, but further inside, whether it is in the military camp or on the airport runway, there are a lot of zombies. Most of them are still wearing beautiful military uniforms. It seems that all the people in this military camp have gathered there and are locked in. The place where the meteorite is studied is underground, and I know the location of the entrance, but it is in that military camp, which is a bit troublesome, and you have to find the identity card to go in. If the gate is closed, you probably have to search it out among the zombies. After all, Jack had escorted things here before, and he has a deep understanding of this place. Let's try it. First, find a suitable place to sneak in. Tao Yu didn't say anything, but he could hide in the shadows and sneak in through ventilation ducts when necessary. After approaching the military camp, the two of them walked lightly, not wanting to attract the attention of the zombies, smelling the stench at the tip of their noses, looking at the metal railings that blocked the zombies and were much stronger than the outer wire fence. The two of them were also looking for a suitable breakthrough point. Tao Yu was still chewing a Snickers bar while observing. He lowered his voice and asked Jack, "What did that group of people do before? Why are they so close?" "I don't know either. It's a little harder than I thought." Just when Jack was a little surprised, Tao Yu suddenly paused, then quickly looked up and saw a surveillance camera under the eaves of a building. At this time, the camera was still flashing red lights regularly, obviously in working order. Jack was a little surprised to see Tao Yu stop, but he was relieved after looking over, and then lowered his voice and said, "This is a military base after all. Look at the solar panels on the roof. It's no problem to maintain basic equipment when all are interrupted. After all, it's only been 7 months. No, the camera just moved. There are living people or something with wisdom in it." Tao Yu's deified crane form brought high spiritual perception, plus the passive superposition of Warlord's gun. Just now he clearly felt the sense of being peeped. This made Jack stunned. "There are still living people. You also said that this is a military base. Although the outside is occupied for unknown reasons, it seems normal to have a safe area and enough food inside." "You are right, maybe there is really someone. Let me test it." Jack nodded to Tao Yu, and then took the initiative to come to the front of the camera while paying attention not to attract the zombies on the other side of the guardrail. As a former CIA task force member, Jack is also very clear about some confidential codes, and he gestured directly in front of the camera. Sure enough, soon the camera that seemed to be motionless moved up and down, as if nodding. Sure enough, there is someone. Jack turned around and said to Tao Yu, and looked at Tao Yu's combat uniform again. Although he was eating without a helmet, Tao Yu's outfit could easily be misunderstood. "Your outfit, plus the code I used before, may have initially gained trust. There are so many zombies outside, and the people inside should be trapped, and trapped for a long time." Jack made his own judgment. The main thing below is the laboratory, and there may be guards or something, but in fact the main combat force is up there. But it is obvious that the group above has turned into an enemy, so the people inside dare not come out again. But it is a bit strange. The drinking water in the military camp here shouldn't be so easily contaminated, right? How did it become like this outside? Tao Yu also began to think of another question at this time. The people inside are fine, so it is likely that they did not drink the contaminated water inside, and they had a separate water supply. If this is a zombie world itself, there is no need to consider so much. but this world was infected later, so there should be a source, so it shouldn't be too exaggerated, but think about it carefully, the zombies who can still jump around for 7 months are all here, it seems that it is nothing to become like this. Chapter 56, Remarks on the Launch. You are listening at NovelsReturning. It's on the shelves today. Thank you all for accompanying me all the way. I'm also grateful to the late-night snack editor in charge for your great help. I was able to have full attendance in the first month after it was put on the shelves. It's the first time it's been put on the shelves in so many years. I'm so happy that the speed of everyone's subscriptions and moral updates is related to performance, so I will definitely update as much as possible. To be honest, my integrity has really reached a very embarrassing stage now. The time for leave at work is expected to arrive next year, and I will have to make some choices by then. I really like writing novels, but now I have a boss and a boss. I felt like I was rushing behind me, so I had no choice but to keep moving forward. I watched a short video clip during a break. After a hard day's work, I heard my parents bought thousands of healthcare products and gave them eggs while eating. When I went back to accompany my daughter, I was told that 7 plus 7 is equal to 11. When I was sleeping, my wife asked her what she had become. Will the caterpillar still love her? This kind of video looks really subtle. Others are watching it for fun, but I am looking in the mirror. But as long as the whole family is healthy and safe, and my parents, wife, and daughter are with me, it is actually pretty good. That's why I have to work hard to support my family too. Click the line, not much to say, let's talk about the update after it's released. It is guaranteed to be updated 3 times a day. If there are no unexpected updates at the update time, it will be updated at 5 p.m. If there are chapter skips in the update, it may be that the middle chapters are blocked. However, since it is not the type of the previous book, the probability should be smaller. 1 update will be added for every 500 for the first order. For orders over 1,000, 1 update will be added for every 100, the main thing is to subscribe to add updates. There is too much uncertainty about monthly tickets and rewards. Although it is a fantasy time, it is still necessary to predict that there may be situations that cannot be completed, so we can only add symbolic updates, and the threshold is set relatively high. The leader adds an update, in the first month, 1,000 monthly votes plus 1 update. Well, why it's only the first month? That's because I definitely haven't saved any manuscripts in the future. Now I have to deal with the Spring Festival. Instead of pretending to be dead if I can't fulfill my promise by then, it's better to be honest. There were 5 updates on the first day of release, with a guarantee of 3 updates and 1 update for the leader who owed the alliance, plus additional updates for those who ordered 500 in advance. Please don't slap me in the face. Although the new book issue is updated too quickly and has been released in advance, 500 should not be overturned, right? Please subscribe or 2. Chapter 57 Clearing the Scene, First Order Request. You are listening at NovelsReturning. In a dimly lit laboratory, only the dim emergency lights were flashing, and the scene was quite gloomy. Most of the facilities had been shut down, but the screen in the monitoring room was still flashing. At this time, about 7 or 8 people were crowded in the monitoring room. One of them, a black man who looked quite fat 7 months after the end of the world, said anxiously to the others. Finally, someone came again. They dared to come with 2 people, so they must be very capable. Let them lead the zombies away. This may be our last chance. What do you mean? Use the radio? The zombies will be crazy. It's not realistic to lead them away with 2 people. Hey, it was better to fight with the last batch. There were many people and several cars at that time. What's the point of saying this now? Several people talked to each other, looking a little anxious, but as their voices became more and more intense, suddenly a heavy metal collision sound made them all stop, their faces full of fear, and they dared not breathe. After a while, after several consecutive collisions, the sound stopped. The violent collision made them feel the fluctuation of the surveillance screen. It was only the protective measures of the underground laboratory that prevented the sound inside from being transmitted. It is not realistic to lead them away. Why do they do this? But I think we can ask them to come in and try to take us out. They must have a purpose for coming here, and we can help. A middle-aged woman with glasses spoke up. No matter what, they look like combat personnel, right? Ask them to come in. How to call? What about the zombies at the door? I don't think there is a need to call. They seem to know our base and may come here for this. Look. While they were still discussing, Tao Yu and Jack had already climbed onto the roof next to them. The high-voltage power grid had long been out of power, which did not pose any obstacles to them, although the military camp was full of zombies, so dense that there was almost no place to stay, but the two of them relied on some eaves and water pipes, and used their strong physical fitness to climb over the eaves above the zombies, although the cameras that are still working now cannot cover everything. Through the splicing of several pictures, it can be seen that they are coming towards the entrance, and their purpose can be said to be quite clear. Get ready, help them. What the hell, there are zombies at the door, how can we open it? It seems that none of them are in charge, but from the screen in charge of the door, you can see a large group of zombies surrounding the entrance of the warehouse-like building. A quick look shows that there are at least dozens of zombies in the camera, completely blocking the exit. Tao Yu and Jack obviously saw the situation over there, but their speed of advancement did not change at all, and in order not to attract the attention of the zombies next to them, they did not make any sound along the way. The fact that they can carry a backpack and move long distances with their hands like rock climbing is enough to show their strong physical fitness, and slowly made the people in the monitoring room stop arguing. Are all those soldiers so strong? Special forces? Agents, those seem to be CIA terms. But there are dozens of them at the door. If we open fire, it will be a mess. We thought it was simple at first. Maybe they can try to throw a grenade somewhere else to divert them. That's crazy. The zombies in the entire military camp will wake up, and the chaotic scene will be even worse. It won't be worse than it is now. They seemed a little entangled at this time. Many of them were colleagues outside. They had tried many times before, but the more they tried, the worse it got. At this time, the camera at their door also captured Tao Yu and Jack landing at the same time. The entrance to the underground laboratory is in this warehouse, but the warehouse is full of zombies because of their many attempts to break out, but it is precisely because of their attempts that the zombies are concentrated, making this group of zombies and the other zombies in the outer military camp have a not-so-wide buffer zone between them. Tao Yu and Jack kept holding the eaves, and they came to this buffer zone from the top of the zombies, and landed one after another. When they first landed, they were very alert, but they were relieved when they found that they were not disturbed, and then looked at the zombies in front of them. Jack whispered to Tao Yu in a low voice. It's very dense, you can try to use gasoline bombs. But the noise may make other zombies in the barracks move. There are too many of them, and the chaos will be disadvantageous to us. And I don't know if there are any explosives in this warehouse. Tao Yu said calmly, once the zombies are in chaos, they will definitely not be able to remain silent all the time. The noise will only get louder and louder, and there will be more and more zombies. The possible explosives in the warehouse and the possible uncontrolled fire are also a very deadly problem. Tao Yu kept observing the warehouse, trying to find a suitable window to see if he could sneak in directly by hiding in the shadows. This distance is still within his physical strength, but the problem now is that as a genuine former CIA person like Jack, the communication with those inside will definitely be smoother. However, if he goes in and the door is not opened after he goes in, he will be at a loss. Escaping into the shadows is considered transcendent, and it is normal for visual shock to bring fear. There are no channels for the two parties to communicate with each other outside, which is really a bit troublesome. There are about 50 of them at the main entrance, but the distance may also attract the ones on both sides. If you only fight close to each other, it will take a lot of energy out of your body. Tao Yu's tone was a little solemn. To put it bluntly, even if dozens of pigs are killed here, it is still laborious work. A single zombie poses no threat to Tao Yu or Jack, and 2 or 3 zombies are not a big problem, but the force of each attack, the positioning, and dozens of repetitions will also make people tired. Anaerobic exercise during bursts has the limits of the human body. Even though Tao Yu has one permanent certificate, which can always ensure the power of the attack, the consumption is real. Not to mention the muggle next to him, Jack. As long as you don't attract a large force and one person is about half of it, it won't be a big problem. You just have to be careful about your voice. If your physical strength decreases later, you may not be able to take care of everything. Jack also took stock of himself and stretched his arms, which were starting to feel a little sore from crawling over. Okay, give it a try. If it doesn't work, just go to the house first. Safety first. I'm on the left, you on the right. Okay, I'll come over and help you after I finish cleaning up. Hey, maybe I can help you. Jack finally fought back, and at the same time, the competitive spirit in his heart was raised. Not only did he help the opponent in turn, but at least he didn't let the opponent wipe his butt. Then the two looked at each other and groped in their respective directions silently. Zombies mainly rely on their hearing at long distances, but once the distance is close enough, their sense of smell combined with blurry vision can quickly lock onto the target. Soon, the outermost zombies noticed the two of them and rushed towards them. Although they didn't make any harsh sounds, this movement would naturally attract the neighboring zombies, and then they would move towards the two of them like dominoes. Fortunately, this threshold of movement was not transmitted to the larger zombie group outside the isolation zone. Everyone in the base watched the movement of the corpses with their hearts in their throats. It's over, these two are too aggressive, are they so reckless? But soon, those terrifying zombies, the demons and zombies that had looked ferocious in their eyes and killed countless people, turned out to be as fragile as scarecrows in front of the two of them. They can easily kill one of them with just one move of the knife, and the two of them are still controlling the zombie's fallen position. They actually reached out to help the first zombie they killed, reducing the noise of the zombies falling to the ground. The zombies killed next were circled around the corpse of the first zombie. Like fairies scattering flowers, each zombie fell down. Some of them must have hit the corpses of other zombies, then the group of corpses closest to the warehouse was emptied one by one. This directly stunned everyone in front of the surveillance camera. What's wrong with this world? Has being locked up here for 7 months changed the situation? Why human evolution didn't bring us? Chapter 58 Professional. You are listening at NovelsReturning. 37. I am 38, and I won. TCH lie, I want to count them. Just when the two of them were taking a breath after cleaning up the zombies, the small iron door of the factory was opened from the inside, and then a fat black man carefully poked his head out and waved to the two of them. Come in, come in. Tao Yu and Jack had just finished cleaning up the zombies when the fat man came over. He had obviously been monitoring and watching. As the two of them entered, the fat man gently closed the small door, fearing that the sound would attract zombies from a distance. Hello, my name is James. I am an ordinary security guard in the laboratory. I am usually responsible for access control and other things. The interior of this factory looks very ordinary, but you can see that what is stored is some food. A large number of individual rations and cans for big and beautiful soldiers are piled here on the shelves. It is not surprising that this fat man is so fat and strong. At least they don't have to worry about eating and drinking. How is the situation inside you? How many people are left? Is there an outbreak of infection down there? Tao Yu said inquiringly. There are 7 people left. There were originally more, but those who wanted to break out have turned into zombies outside and been killed by you. You still want to break out with so much food? It's a real hell outside. Jack didn't expect that there was such a wealth of food here. The original explosion was too misleading. Hey, you'll find out when you come over later. I'm a security guard and I don't know how to explain it to you. Anyway, no matter why you came here this time, we will cooperate with you in whatever you want. Now we have long lost contact with the higher-ups. James, the fat black man, sighed at this time and looked like he was in a bad mood. This made Tao Yu frown a little. Such a arrogant guy only wanted to go out. Something unusual must have happened in the laboratory below. The entrance of the laboratory is parallel to a forklift garage. The entire forklift garage is equipped with lifts to facilitate the transportation of experimental equipment. It is very spacious, however. As the elevator entered below, a sense of darkness hit us. the dimness of the emergency lights made the place look a bit underworld, and there were already several people waiting at the elevator door, and as the elevator door opened, the hair on Tao Yu's body stood up. His spiritual sense reminded him that there was danger here. He even sent Tao Yu directly into bullet time, almost preparing to escape into the shadows while preparing to pull out a gun and shoot him, but then he discovered that the source of danger was not the group of guys in front who came to greet the two of them. Only then did he stop preparing to draw his gun. As for the group of survivors who had no idea that they had escaped from hell because of the dim light, they gathered around and started chattering. "You are so strong. Should keep your voice down, we have to keep our voices down here, otherwise we'll wake that thing up. Can you think of a way to take us out? We can help you get whatever you want." Several people gathered around and talked to each other, looking a little messy. "I want to know what's going on here. Why keep it quiet, and what is that thing?" Tao Yu and Jack asked solemnly from the side as they left the elevator. Jack, who was looking around and thinking about the last time he came here, was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then whispered to Tao Yu. "What? What's the problem?" That he is still very convinced of Tao Yu. Although he is a pervert and has very problematic habits, he is very reliable and has a good figure. Well, let's listen to them first. That thing is a corpse king, and it is also one of the sources of this apocalypse. It was secretly transported here for study. But as the external power supply was cut off and the fuel of the internal backup unit was exhausted, it lost its restraint and is now locked behind the third isolation door. A middle-aged woman who may have been a researcher before and knew the situation here said in a low voice. "Corpse King. Source." Tao Yu was a little surprised. He thought it was an ordinary zombie virus, but it turned out that there was also a zombie king. And to be able to feel a slight sense of threat here, I'm afraid it is indeed quite difficult, and it is definitely not the level of ordinary zombies. Jack was also a little surprised on the side. Source. When did you discover it? Hearing this, the researcher was a little embarrassed, and then said softly. 2 months before the full-scale apocalypse broke out. I was just a researcher. I didn't know it would be like this. Upon hearing this, Tao Yu and Jack looked at the sky speechlessly. Can I just say that she is really beautiful? No wonder no crisis broke out in this laboratory. The problem occurred after the power outage. Their precautions were in place. It was only later that we discovered a lot of strange things through research, but someone should have spread it specifically. It is too exaggerated that the whole world broke out almost at the same time. There must be more than one such corpse king. At this time, the researcher also explained the situation of human beings having moles. This made Tao Yu hesitate. For some reason, he suddenly thought of the information he had obtained from the dead Lizelin rich woman. The luck thief favored by the abyss. Why does the abyss favor the luck thief? At the same time, he thought of Chao Shaolin. I don't know if I am overthinking it, however, these levels are not what I need to consider for the time being. If the sky falls, I will rely on my thighs. The purpose of coming here this time is to make money, just for that meteorite. As for the corpse king, you can understand it and decide how to act based on the specific situation. We came here this time because of that special meteorite. Our company wants to make a weapon that can quickly clear away zombies. Tao Yu is going to get something first. After spending so long, there must be something gained, right? But after hearing Tao Yu's words, several people looked a little embarrassed. Well, the place where the meteorite is behind the third layer isolation door. If we had that thing, we would have blown it out with fragments before. Hearing this, Tao Yu paused for a moment, then said in a deep voice. The corpse king has started to move. He won't hit the meteorite, right? That thing is really explosive. Can't I just spiral into the sky here? No, it's well kept, and a shock-proof box has been specially built, so there won't be any problems during normal transportation. Moreover, the corpse king doesn't want to be stimulated by the outside world, and seldom moves on his own. After hearing this, Tao Yu pondered for a moment. Now he can choose to go back and hand in the task directly. This kind of information harvest is definitely not low, but he still wants to try it himself. In addition to the consumption of willpower as the strength rises, the secondary strengthening of some skills that Tao Yu wants to start next is also a sinkhole. The secondary consumption of basic breathing method modified is almost 30,000 willpower, bullet time is more than 100,000, and 5 types in 1 is more than 200,000. The gap is here, and we can only do a lot of work. Take me over there to observe. I'll see if I can deal with the Corpse King. Tao Yu's words made the faces of the group change, and then he said sincerely. Have you discovered why there are so few of us and no combatants? Except for those who broke through from behind, most of them died when that thing went out of control. The damage done by firearms to it is limited. Headshots are useless. It's probably useless. I remember that its skull is quite tough, maybe a little, but it must be a lot of hair. The researcher recalled some uncertain data when he participated in the study and said, and then added. None of us have seen anyone else fighting it. It was a confidential area with a separate monitoring room. We could only hear a lot of gunshots, and then they all died. After that, we lowered the isolation door. When she said this, her eyes were a little wandering. Maybe there were still people who survived, but they cut off other people's lives in advance. Is there a ventilation duct over there? Tao Yu was also thinking about his retreat. Yes, but don't worry, it can't get through this. Take me to have a look first. I'll decide based on the situation. All right. The researcher was also a little helpless, and then took off his shoes and walked quietly in one direction. Tao Yu said to Jack. I'll just go take a look. You know, I still have some special abilities. Tao Yu's words made Jack nodded. He asked Tao Yu several times how he entered Chow Shaolin's room. Although he didn't get an answer, he now asked if the ventilation duct could be used to evacuate. After Tao Yu carefully observed the size of the ventilation duct, he felt confident. I'll try to go in and have a look. If that doesn't work, I'll pull out. No, it's very fast, and the protective door will not be able to reach it in time. Several survivors in the laboratory shook their heads. You don't need to open the door. I have a way to get in. Give me more relevant information and I will understand. Hearing what Tao Yu said, several people also looked at each other, and it was the female researcher who came forward and said. After we got here, we soaked it in liquid nitrogen to preserve it. During the research, we tested that the strength of the bones is comparable to steel, especially the skull. Ordinary bullets may not be able to penetrate it. Maybe it can be penetrated through the eyes. The researcher said this. After looking at Tao Yu's reaction, he paused and continued. Furthermore, the flesh of the Corpse King is also quite tough. It is a high-quality buffer and is highly resistant to all kinds of physical damage. Tao Yu also thought in her heart after hearing this, are bones as good as steel? That warlord equipped with guns is a bit boring. However, my basic shooting modification control is also very accurate in hitting the eye socket. If I really fight hard later and use the weapon, Giant Lizard Fang, combined with the blow that gathers the power of the shadow when breaking the invisible, I should be able to break the neck. If it really doesn't work, you can still use your willpower to recover and retreat. With the new huge sum of 7,000 willpower arriving in his account, Tao Yu also thought he could give it a try. Okay, I understand. I'll go over and try. I won't show off. You can't come back if you try. This is the source of the apocalypse, that the few people who were still hoping that Tao Yu and Jack could take them away were still trying to save themselves at this time. No matter what happens, even if they live here, they still feel safe with two more powerful guys. Why are they rushing to die? Let's just say it's not considered a zombie. Tao Yu smiled softly. Calculate. That's no problem. I'm professional in dealing with zombies. Tao Yu checked the equipment, tried out the new suit, loaded the ammunition, put down the backpack, and prepared to go into battle. In addition, he also took out 2 chi-boosting pills and put them in his mouth. If you don't need to restore your willpower, then you don't need it. The price/performance ratio is too low. Don't be afraid, this is my special ability. After reminding them not to scream, Tao Yu immediately disappeared into the shadows in the dim laboratory, and disappeared in front of everyone in an instant, just like the smoke of ink painting spreading when it meets water. This made everyone f***ck up. Sure enough, human evolution didn't take us with it. But if it was him, then maybe this problem could really be solved. Tao Yu directly entered the ventilation duct in the modeled shadow world, and the reflections around him kept retreating, and the speed increased rapidly. With the huge physical consumption and the chi-boosting pills he chewed and absorbed, he passed through the ventilation duct and arrived at the other side of the metal door in the next moment. Chao Shaolin's high spiritual perception could detect that he was normal, but a mere zombie. When Tao Yu got out of the ventilation duct, he looked at the figure with fangs, sharp armor, hands raised horizontally, and wearing a Qing dynasty official uniform and began to turn his head. He almost cursed in his heart, "Isn't this an experimental subject? Why is there this clothing? It's your bad taste when you captured it. What zombie? What zombie king? Have you never seen a zombie movie? Why a zombie? This is Uncle Joe's business. Why not just use Arthas?" Looking at the dried bodies of the laboratory personnel here, Tao Yu felt numb in his heart. They were zombies that had sucked human blood. However, after entering the bullet time synchronously and finding that the zombies were just sniffing something and not locking their positions, Tao Yu did not run back immediately. Escape into the shadows will not leave a smell. Is it catching life? Now that I'm here, let's try it first. Chapter 59 Thrilling. You are listening at NovelsReturning. Shit. Looking at the thing called Zombie King in front of him, Tao Yu's resentment almost turned into substance. Although he didn't know where the clothes of the experimental subject came from, this thing was a standard zombie from head to toe. Fortunately, Tao Yu liked Uncle Joe's movies. Although he didn't bring glutinous rice, ink fountain, etc., he held his breath immediately after seeing the zombie sniffing, and quickly retreated by hiding in the shadows to increase his speed. Sure enough, the zombie just stayed where it was and did not make any further moves. Pulling to the end of this corridor, with T-shaped corners on both sides, Tao Yu directly leaned against the wall and took out the warlord's pistol, and then pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! As the bullet came out of the barrel with the fire, the zombie who was originally standing in front of the metal door also found Tao Yu, kicked his stiff legs, and the whole body rushed towards Tao Yu like a cannonball. The raised arms were like harpoons. That power, that burst, even in the perception of bullet time, you can clearly feel its movement. Although the speed is not as fast as a bullet, it is faster than Chao Shaolin and Shilin. With the burst of strength and the acceleration consumed by bullet time, Tao Yu predicted the opponent's trajectory in advance and began to move sideways while continuing to pull the trigger. Let the bullets with twisted airways in the air shoot one by one at the flying zombie, and the main target is the eyes. Puff. Even if it is a zombie, the eyes can't stop the impact of Tao Yu's warlord gun. Under the modification of the trajectory by basic shooting modified, all of Tao Yu's shots hit successfully. At the same time, it also comes with the original mental impact. In theory, this is definitely a perfect start. But Tao Yu, who is still in bullet time, felt a sinking feeling in his heart. For the first time, the mental attack attached to his basic shooting modified did not show any effect. Not only the mental shock, the zombie whose eye was penetrated by the bullet also seemed to be fine, and his expression was still stiff and unchanged. The body that was ejected was even motionless. It seemed that the bullet that penetrated his eye was not a bullet, but not even a mosquito. Fortunately, Tao Yu had been dodging in advance, and although the zombie had superb explosive power, the trajectory of the ejection was quite single. While Tao Yu's bullets did not work, he had already dodged the zombie's ejection sideways. The zombie's arms were like steel forks, hitting the metal wall in front of it heavily, tearing the metal sheet of the wall directly, and inserting the reinforced concrete behind it. The violent impact made Tao Yu feel the vibration on his feet, and he looked at the depth of the bullet that was inserted into the concrete and had already submerged his wrist. Tao Yu also directly gave up the idea of urging his strength to hit the other party, and once again held his breath and escaped into the shadows. Body of steel. Do you think you are Superman? After escaping into the shadows again, Tao Yu still did not choose to evacuate, but pushed the double lurking to the extreme, constantly wandering around, and constantly consuming physical and mental strength, continuously letting the two lurking skills overlap to the limit. The shadow power around him became stronger and stronger. He even began to consume his willpower to recover and replenish himself. Ambush modified. This ability obtained from the alien is not as expensive to enhance as lurking, but it can mobilize the shadow power originally emitted when escaping into the shadows. This time, we have to see where the limit is. The last time Tao Yu activated, ambush modified, to attack Cao Shaolin, but that time it was not superimposed to the limit. The opponent also noticed him and broke the knife directly. It can be said that it was a very embarrassing debut, but the mistake that time, in addition to the lack of shadow power, Cao Shaolin noticed the danger in advance and used his knees and elbows to clamp the side. It was also an important reason, otherwise, he would die if he was chopped. I don't believe that zombies, which are straightforward, can do it. Die for me. Tao Yu took advantage of the moment when the zombie pulled out its arms and lost its balance, and pushed the speed in the shadow to the extreme. He directly relied on this speed far exceeding his normal speed, and then added his own strength. Strength is generated by blood and qi, and the strength of the whole body is twisted from the soles of the feet to the hips, then to the spine, and then to the waist, back, shoulders and wrists. The tiger form, which has the highest burst among the 5 forms of Wanlu, is perfectly used. Bang bang bang. The sound of a bowstring breaking constantly rang in Tao Yu's body, since his physical fitness has surpassed the limit of the human body. This is Tao Yu's second near whole body collapse. The knee pads and wrist guards that had just been received and not yet warmed up were broken one after another, completing their mission, and even the clothes on Tao Yu's right leg, trouser leg and arm were like flowers scattered by the sky. A visible bulge spread along the arm, and it seemed that a mist was drawn in the air. The suddenly shattered shadow, like the inverted ink splashing, quickly collapsed from the state of wrapping the whole body into Tao Yu's hand, and gathered on the giant lizard's tooth. Puffed up, the steel and iron bones smashed the concrete zombie's head and rose up. Tao Yu grabbed the head that soared into the sky with one hand, kicked the zombie's body, and then quickly retreated to distance himself. Sure enough, the zombies whose heads were taken away swung their arms back again, making a loud noise, scratching Tao Yu's cheek painfully. But if I hadn't retreated immediately after taking the head away, and was scratched from the front, it wouldn't just be painful. Tao Yu retreated quickly and slid back a distance on the ground, then stared at the zombie's body. He was in pain all over his body, but it didn't affect his movements at all. It was my problem before. Zombies have spirits but no souls. Normal mental attacks are really useless. They are not the center of command of the head. However, after the head fell off, they also lost the ability to capture targets. Tao Yu watched the zombie's body spinning in place like crazy, tearing metal sheets and making cracks on the concrete, and he was slightly relieved. Although he lost at the beginning, he still made a good bet now. I don't know who made this zombie. Judging from the fact that it can become a source of pollution, it may even have been specially modified. It should be the real mastermind behind the global biochemical crisis, but no matter what, this should be a normal zombie, not the type in myths and legends, so there is still a limit. Enduring the pain all over his body, Tao Yu retreated to the door and then shouted outside. Open the door, the problem is basically solved. Bring all the gasoline bombs, I will burn them. Tao Yu vaguely heard a brief quarrel outside, and then the partition metal door slowly opened. Jack pointed a gun at the others outside and asked them to complete the operation honestly, without giving them time to argue and explain. After opening it, everyone was horrified to see the crazy headless zombie and the head held by Tao Yu. Really solved. Awesome. The black fat man James raised his finger blankly. Jack also breathed a sigh of relief, and while looking at the head held by Tao Yu, he also took out the homemade gasoline bottles from his backpack. Tao Yu actually brought 2 in, but based on the previously estimated zombie strength, 2 bottles were probably not enough. Now use them all, and burn the steel for you. Crackling. Boom. The gasoline bottle shattered precisely on the zombie's body, and the flames burst, then the second bottle, the third bottle. Chapter 60 Huge Harvest, updated by Taipal, the village chief of the Alliance Novice village. You are listening at NovelsReturning. The blazing flames were quite dazzling in the passage with only emergency lights. The temperature exceeded 1,800 degrees, and all the gasoline bottles were burned. The zombie fell to the ground with a crash and lost movement. Tao Yu also specially separated the zombie's head and burned it. He didn't know whether the cause of death was the body or the head. Fortunately, there is nothing to burn in this passage, otherwise it would have started a fire. Looking at the burned-out dark corridor and the billowing acrid black smoke, Tao Yu, who had been eating, breathed a sigh of relief. I can already feel the strength gathering. Done. In terms of physical strength alone, this zombie is much stronger than Cao Shaolin, but apart from the damage caused by his repeated attacks when breaking the defense, the overall sense of crisis was actually not as good as Cao Shaolin's time. The zombies were incredibly powerful and had incredible defenses, but their straightforward attacks and lack of consciousness were perfectly restrained by Tao Yu's own combat style. If Cao Shaolin encounters a zombie head-on, he will definitely be beaten to death by the zombie. If he encounters Cao Shaolin head-on, he will also be beaten to death by Cao Shaolin. But even if he encounters a zombie head-on, he can still deal with it. The final gathering of the willpower was on the zombie's palms, or claws, which were burned a little black and had a burning smell. Tao Yu went directly over and broke off the carbonized claws. At the same time, the other hand was holding chocolate and stuffing it into his mouth. This violent movement made the survivors in the laboratory stunned. This guy with superpowers who can suddenly disappear wouldn't suddenly eat the claws of the Corpse King. I feel like this person is a bit perverted, with a perverted personality. It's a pity that the clothes were burned, otherwise it would have been a good prop. Tao Yu thought about what she had asked them before. These clothes were sent with the zombies. They were easier to control when wearing these clothes. They seemed to have some inhibitory effect, not that they had any bad taste. Zombie claws, claws that have gathered the essence of zombies. It seems to contain some kind of zombie refining skills and can absorb 1,000 wishes. In terms of price alone, the price of the willpower is about the same as Cao Shaolin's Warlord gun, which is equivalent to 50 aliens. If it doesn't work, with the alien's dexterity, one might be able to trap it. It should be a blessing in terms of skill. What made Tao Yu's heart beat was that it actually came with complete skills. This was different from Warlord's gun, which was useless after being absorbed by the Warlord's gun. This complete absorption was absorbed together with the skill information and pollution information. Without any hesitation, Tao Yu, who could deify the skill, directly chose to absorb it. The arrival of 1,000 willpower, coupled with the absorption of the remaining willpower of the 2 damaged pieces of equipment, directly replenished all the willpower that Tao Yu had consumed before recovering, and in turn increased it by 500 units. The most important thing is that Tao Yu has another skill. Light group that is completely different from before. It is separated from several physical skills and combat skills and appears alone above. The art of refining zombies, a secret method of refining zombies. It can take 7 days, 49 days, and 81 days to refine different zombies in the corpse-raising ground. Different toxins can be incorporated into the refining process to strengthen it. It takes continuously feeding it with its own essence and blood. Each zombie will occupy part of its mental power after being refined, and the consumption will increase with each additional zombie it controls. Although it is not a mythical zombie that flies into the sky and escapes from the earth, the previous zombie also had many flaws, such as dullness, blunt attacks, etc. Even though the panel is obviously very strong, it is possible that 1 or 2 aliens can tangle it, but that invulnerable body and terrifying strength are definitely excellent human shields. For Tao Yu, who has poor battery life, it is definitely complementary. The most important thing is, deification costs 2,000-5,000. Regarding this, Tao Yu did not hesitate at all. It only cost 500 to replenish physical and mental energy. In comparison, 2,000 and 5,000 is nothing. That the willpower that originally reached 7,500 has dropped sharply to 5,000 again. The art of refining corpse modification. As mentioned above, zombies fed by one's own essence and blood can be transformed into shadows, which can eliminate the zombie's weakness of fear of yang energy. There was not much change, but Tao Yu felt quite excited in her heart when she felt the implicit meaning, shadow transformation. It's similar to the use of the power of shadow to escape into the shadow. It's not that zombies can become invisible, but you can choose a zombie to directly become your shadow and blend in. And when necessary, you can increase the consumption of mental power, so that part of the zombie's body turns into the power of shadow during battle, making the movements more flexible. As for the shortcomings, there are some. Like the usual deification skills, it takes a lot of effort to actively turn zombies into shadows during battle, and controlling zombies passively takes up more mental power. In exchange, the zombies usually hide passively in the shadows, and there is no additional cost if the state does not change. No matter what, the function after deification is far greater than before. It makes up for the maximum flexibility. Otherwise, the style of running around with a zombie every day would be a bit wrong, and finally there is a place that can help stuff things. Tao Yu sensed the mystery of that skill, and probably knew that although the zombie couldn't blend into the shadow with a backpack on his back, some small items could still be stored in the zombie just by hanging equipment on it. How safe it is to exist in the shadows, but the premise is that you must first make your own zombie. When I get rich in the future, I wonder if it will be possible to use zombies to complete mechanical transformation or implant alien bodies. Tao Yu couldn't help but sigh when she thought of the cheapest price for mechanical modification and alloplastic implantation. With this money, she would definitely improve herself first and see if there are any opportunities in the future. As for the materials it's made from, the first thing Tao Yu thought of was the rich woman Lizalin who was burned by him, and she couldn't help but feel sad for a moment. It's a perfect material, and it contains toxins in itself. But then Tao Yu thought of Chao Shaolin's body. It didn't seem to be burned. Was it buried in the garden? Now is the time to go back and save it. As for toxins, Tao Yu thought deeply about the need for this corpse refining technique. Sure enough, there is a high probability that they are zombies raised by a certain luck thief, and there is a high probability that the zombie virus that has been integrated into it is a zombie virus. It is not surprising that it has such a strong infection ability combined with its own corpse poison. With its metaphysical overtones, it is indeed difficult to guard against. Moreover, there are more than one source of infection, which also shows that that guy probably raises a lot of zombies. According to the records of the art of corpse refining, the burden of increasing the number of zombies refined with essence and blood increases exponentially. Even if the opponent uses any tricks, they are by no means an ordinary person. Thinking that he had killed a zombie here, he didn't know if that guy could feel anything. It's been so long since he didn't come over to rescue the zombies. He must have other things to do, right? But he can't take risks. He'll leave as soon as he's full and recovered, and call for Thai later. Tao Yu had already made a decision in his mind, and also had some ideas about this skill. Due to various deification skills, Tao Yu already has a high demand for mental and physical energy. In addition, there is only one zombie that can hide in the shadows every day, so Tao Yu is prepared to carefully create 1 or 2 zombies. A small amount of high-quality products is always better than a bunch of rubbish, and the mental power they occupy is more cost-effective. After solving the zombies and gaining a good skill here, Tao Yu thought of the original main purpose of coming here. Where is the meteorite? Tao Yu's mind is now full of thoughts of going back quickly to prepare Chao Shaolin's body, but there is another big harvest that he cannot avoid. From Tao Yu's point of view, even if the meteorite itself does not have much willpower, its effect is here. Although it is of limited personal use to him, it can be sold to the 2 young masters and ladies in the floating city for at least 100,000 yuan, right? Coupled with the discovery of Jack, that a chosen one, he might be able to deify his talent again. I'll take you there. The middle-aged female researcher seemed to be in awe of Tao Yu at this time, and she unconsciously used honorifics. With the ghost inside and the failure of the power facilities, they easily made their way to another research room and saw a transparent container placed in the center, which was soaked in a viscous liquid similar to mercury. Sealing the meteorite in it like amber. Very good. Tao Yu smiled and walked over. In this case, it would be convenient to take it away without worrying about a big explosion on the road. Well, maybe it would be better to just bring it back here, and then wait for those 2 to come back and sell it. Tao Yu thought in her mind that although the 2 of them were strong and could stay in the abyss for much longer, they should still come back to get some targeted items based on the actual situation in this early stage, right? But when Tao Yu casually touched the transparent container to see what it was, he was suddenly stunned. Heart of the broken world, talents can be improved, or new talents can be activated with probability, fuck.